This is Channel 5 News in the headlines. Calls for a renewed focus on the draft legislation for small business development, light at the end of the tunnel for BICO policyholders, and landmark ruling for the Eastern Caribbean Copyright Organization against a cinema company in St. Lucia. I am Idona John Baptist with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this. First up, the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, DAIC, wants to see renewed focus placed on the draft legislation for small business development. The association says this is part of strengthening the small and medium enterprise or SME sector. President of the DAIC, Kira Thompson-Ed, told a press conference on Tuesday the SME sector has not been left out in its advocacy efforts to develop the private sector. The association says it is time to take a new look at the small business bill presented in 2008.
Since 2008, the DAIC has been pushing for the legislation governing small businesses. It's called the Small Business Act. So I can say without reservation that when it was mentioned in the budget, this is one area that we really want to look at. We really want to see the renewal of that draft legislation and what it's going to cover. Because you cannot have a status giving away of funding without having a legislation or some sort of governance, some sort of governing direction being provided to allow persons to understand the lay of the land, so to speak. And the Small Business Act is there to allow capacity building for the MSME sector. It's there to allow for you to understand what requirements are, what it is that you need to adhere to, what it is that you need to follow through on.
She says the legislative framework could also support capacity building in the sector.
Where do we need to increase that capacity? And like we spoke about the record-keeping workshop. So we know the areas of concern. DAIC actually has a three-tiered program set out. We've addressed one section, and there are two other sectors to come that you will find, sections to come that you will find out about as the months go along for the rest of this year. But that would be the one area that can lend capacity. The Small Business Development Center, which was actually due to be launched earlier this year and has faced a few challenges, is another area that will allow for the capacity building in the small, medium enterprise.
In other top stories, some light at the end of the tunnel for local policyholders of British American insurance company BICO, while the CLICO matter is still up in the air. Former policyholders have been waiting since 2009 for a payout, following the collapse of BICO and CLICO's Trinidad-based parent company, CL Financial. It's expected that over 300 Dominicans who once held insurance policies with BICO will receive payments by December end. The word from Prime Minister Skerrit, chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank's Monetary Council. He made the announcement during the presentation of the national budget.
The Monetary Council, working through the technical committee appointed by the Council, has made some progress in recent weeks in its efforts to resolve the BICO-CLICO matter in the interests of the ECCU policy holders. In regard to BICO, it is expected that payments to BICO policy holders, including the 386 policy holders of Dominica, will be made from end November to December 2017. So some money is really paid out, Madam Speaker, to policy holders who are policy holders of BICO. In regard to CLICO, Madam Speaker, the technical core committee appointed by the Monetary Council continues to work with Barbados Legal Counsel in seeking to secure the interests of the ECCU policy holders in the ongoing Barbados First restructure plan. The intention is to reach a mutually acceptable position that would have policyholders regain their investments.
The majority of BICO policyholders with holdings of up to $30,000 have received their payments across the region. In Dominica's case, ECCB Governor Timothy Antoine said earlier this year, $10 million was paid out to 600 BICO claimants. He said $2 million was still being owed to Dominicans. Last year, a plan of arrangement legislation was also passed in Parliament to facilitate recovering monies lost from both CLICO and BICO. The government of Trinidad agreed to give governments of the OECS $100 million to pay out to affected BICO policyholders since Trinidad had taken over the assets of BICO. Immediate past chairman of the ECCB Monetary Council and Antigua's Prime Minister, while in Dominica last week, lamented the delays with settling the CLICO matter.
It is our expectation that with the passage of the Plan of Arrangement, BICO-CLICO Act in the Bahamas, the way is now clear for a further and imminent dispersal of funds to eligible former BICO policyholders. Progress in respect of CLICO has been disappointingly slow. We continue, however, to press for the enforcement of the rights of the ECCU policyholders and shall continue to be persistent and aggressive in the pursuit of a just and equitable outcome for our people.
On to copyright matters. The Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights, ECHO, is pleased with a court judgment that indicates businesses must seek and receive a license for the public performances of music. ECHO, which counts Dominica as a member, collects copyright fees on behalf of authors and publishers. It also has partnership agreements with counterpart copyright societies internationally. This allows ECHO to collect copyright fees on behalf of international authors and publishers of music. Caribbean Cinemas, based in St. Lucia, was asked to obtain a license for the music played in the films shown, but it refused.
When a film is made, there is music usually accompanying the film. Well, that music, when it's in the OECS, has to be authorized for it to be performed in the cinema with the film. And we approached the cinema company in St. Lucia with that request that they take a license and pay the required fees, and they refused. Essentially said, well, we pay the film distributor for the film, and that's all we need to pay, and we have no business with you. We, of course, disagreed, and we eventually had to take legal action to get the matter resolved. And of course, the matter was resolved in our favor.
Marie says the judgment proves performing music in a cinema is considered a public performance which has to be authorized by the music's owner and/or his legal representative. It also proves that the contracts ECHO has entered into with its fellow copyright societies allow the organization to grant licenses for any and every piece of music that is composed by anybody, anywhere in the world, who is a member of a related copyright society.
So when the person who owns the music, who created the music, gives permission to synchronize his music with the film, that's all he has given the film producer. The right to perform in it in public has already been given to the society of which he is a member. So therefore, he cannot authorize the performance of his film in the cinema either. It's the society that has the right to authorize it. And the film, the music in point of fact, never becomes part of the film. It's always a separate product that accompanies the film, and its owner remains the owner, unless he transfers it to somebody else.
In other developments, the body of a man was found hanging from a mango tree in Kulibistri on Tuesday morning. The police are yet to release an official report on the matter, and details are few at this time. However, a Channel 5 news crew did visit the community where relatives and neighbors confirmed the death. However, they refused to make any comments on camera. Channel 5 News will continue to follow the matter and bring details when they become available. In other police developments, police have released the name of the lifeless body found at the Roseau Market over the weekend. On Sunday, 30th July, the body of a male individual was found on a vendor's stall in the new Roseau Market at 7:20 a.m.
The lifeless body of Eustace Beaufond, male adult of Roseau, was discovered lying on a vending stall at the new Roseau Market. The body was transported to the Accident and Emergency Department of the Princess Margaret Hospital, where it was officially pronounced dead by a medical doctor. A coroner's inquest will be convened. Investigations are ongoing.
And police have confirmed that 6 people are nursing injuries following a vehicular accident on the Edward Oliver Libler Highway in Layu on Friday, 28th July.
Investigations have commenced into a motor vehicular collision which occurred about 10 a.m. on Friday, the 28th of July 2017 on the Edward Oliver Libler Highway at Layu, which has left 6 individuals nursing injuries. The collision involved public service vehicle registration number HF347, owned and at the time was being driven by Wendell Lawrence, male adult of St. Joseph. According to initial police investigations, the motor vehicle was traveling in a northerly direction when it ran off the road and collided with a coconut tree on the Hillsborough estate at Layu. One female passenger who sustained serious injuries was transported to the accident and emergency department of the Princess Margaret Hospital, where she received medical attention and admitted. The other injured parties were transported to the St. Joseph Health Center, where they received medical attention before they were transferred to the Princess Margaret Hospital. Investigations are ongoing.
You're watching Channel 5 News. Dominica making strides on improving its scores on prominent cruise-based study. That and more when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Minister for Tourism and Urban Renewal, Robert Tong, says Dominica is steadily working to improve its scores on the BREA report, and the country has been realizing success in this venture so far. Here's Kenny Williams with more.
The BREA report is a study conducted by the Business Research and Economic Advisors commissioned by the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, FCCA, on various aspects of cruise tourism. During budget debate, the Minister for Tourism pointed out that focusing on cleanliness of Roseau has improved the country's scores on the BREA report.
The Roseau cleanup program continues to work. I want to thank the staff, all the members of the team who are continue doing a fantastic job, and the dedication to the person ensuring that the city of Roseau is much cleaner and much more palatable. Many persons who have traveled recently will actually say to you, you know something, Roseau actually does not smell the way it used to smell before. So not only this is better for our residents, but it also ties in with tourism, because when we looked at our scores from the BREA report, one of the things that we saw was that we were getting poor scores for the cleanliness of our city. So whilst we're taking care of our people, we're also taking care of the poor scores that we were getting from the BREA report.
Senator Tong says other urban renewal projects are high on the agenda to improve the aesthetics of the city of Roseau.
Heavy concentration was placed on urban renewal. There was high on the agenda was the much needed rehabilitation and focusing on sidewalks and drains in our beautiful city. Over 202 meters of sidewalk and drains were rehabilitated from Fort Young to Clifftop Training in the Victoria Street area, costing over $99,000. We also work on the Kennedy Avenue. This project, we actually broke into 4 lots. Many persons are asking, why didn't we continue? But you must understand that everything that you do is based on budgets. So the budget that we had was for a particular section. In this particular project, we spent $229,000, where 218 meters of sidewalk and drains were rehabilitated. Over 40 persons were employed on this project, and this lasted about 6 weeks.
Remedial drain works have been done on Hillsborough and Independence streets.
Moving on to environmental matters, a legal framework will put Dominica in a better position to effectively deal with safe use of radiation and proper disposal of radioactive waste at industrial sites and medical facilities. Kenny Williams explains.
Acting Chief Environmental Health Officer Fredinia Carbon said, currently Dominica's health authorities do not have the full legal backing to manage the use of radiation.
Presently, we do not really have a legal framework. The laws we have to deal with radiation is really the Environmental Health Services Act. that makes radiation a hazard and gives us things like power of entry, gives also persons using it, they are supposed to ask for permission according to the Environmental Health Services Act. We have had persons from the Ministry of Legal Affairs trained in actually writing up those legislation. However, we haven't started yet in Dominica.
The World Health Organization has classified radiation as a carcinogen. Excess exposure to radiation without proper shielding equipment can potentially lead to a variety of health issues, from cataracts and hair loss to birth defects and the development of cancers. A visit by a team from the International Atomic Energy Agency this month has opened the door for funding to manage radiation use.
They will be assisting us with training to do the monitoring, and hopefully at the end, when we know what we have, we'll come up with also a way to get rid of the sources once they are spent. What happens is that when they are spent, we in Dominica usually cannot manage it. So it's something that we'll have to go back most times to the persons from whom we bought those sources.
Carbon said legislation would strengthen the need for systems to dispose of spent or disused radiation sources.
For example, if somebody wants to, say, if we want to buy some equipment or some of the radiation sources to, say, to fight cancer, they would want, the person providing it to us would want us to have laws in place and a regulation system and a monitoring system that can really deal with or else they will not provide us with it. Because radiation is something that you can use for hazardous reasons. So, for example, you can use some of the products to make bombs. You can do a lot of things with radiation. They are very concerned about giving those radiation sources to countries that haven't got the legal framework and the monitoring capacity to really deal with them. As you know, we are having a new hospital. So, for example, if we want to now start doing radiation treatment for some of the, because it's very important in health, we would definitely need the legal framework and the monitoring capability to be able to do that. So we have started in the Ministry of Health, and we're hoping that we can reach the stage where we will be able to bring in those sources to really improve the health of the people in Dominica.
And Minister for National Security has commended the country's latest move in crime management and prevention through establishment of a family court.
Speaking to Channel 5 News recently, Minister Blackmore said there is a particular demographic in society that the wider public needs to be concerned about, and the appropriate infrastructure has been put in place to benefit that particular demographic.
In a number of instances, persons who get themselves before the court system, in large measure, are young people, more so young men. And then we have to find a specialized way to deal with family matters coming before the court, be it by way of divorce, be it by way of juveniles who have gotten themselves into trouble. What we want to say to a young person who have committed a crime is that we don't want to expose you to the full blunt of the criminal justice system, but we want to work with you. But in order to do that, you have to have the infrastructure. And one thing we have been able to do, just 2 weeks ago, the Cabinet took the bold decision to establish a family court. So thereby, family matters can be dealt with in a specialized way.
Blackmore says the degree of the crime committed should be taken into account before automatically sending a young person to jail.
Because a young person who have gotten himself in trouble with the law ought not to be in jail, unless the crime that he or she has committed is so serious, so he has to be put away for his own safety and the safety of the broader public. So I'm happy that we have been able to take a decision to start the process rolling, to put in place what they call the family court, where you can have a sitting judge and a sitting magistrate and counselors who are well trained to deal with the juveniles who have gotten themselves in problems, and to deal with family matters, divorce, etc. So I'm very happy about that.
That's news. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
First up in sports, Minister for Sports, Honorable Justina Charles, says government's commitment to sport development here has been given a recent thumbs up by one of the region's cricketing heads. Recently, government installed a $1.3 million scoreboard at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium ahead of the West Indies versus Pakistan test in May. Her comments at the afternoon sitting of the 2017-2018 budget debate in Parliament on Monday.
We spent $1.3 million to purchase a scoreboard, which was installed in preparation for the test match between the West Indies and Pakistan, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, while some people will sit and criticize, but during the test match, Madam Speaker, the chairman of the West Indies Cricket Board claimed that Dominica's scoreboard is the best in the region presently, Madam Speaker. This year, we will continue to work and to maintain the stadium. And Madam Speaker, we will be spending $1.1 million to improve the lighting. Because from time to time, you may have, a little problems with the light. So we will be spending $1.1 million, a little above that, into improving the lights at the stadium, Madam Speaker.
She added that things are moving well ahead of the establishment of the new multi-sports complex in Stock Farm.
We will see the Condi work being carried out. We know we have some money in the budget, Madam Speaker, for the demolition of the old netball complex that is at Stock Farm. And we are presently trying to work very closely with the people who are occupying the area to ensure that we can clear the area the soonest so that work can start.
Next up, West Indies finished the first day of the three-day match against Essex on 309 for the loss of 8 wickets in 89.4 overs, batting first. Roston Chase added a decent 81, Craig Brathwaite 61 and Jermaine Blackwood 59. Callum Taylor was the pick of the Essex side, taking 2 for 33, while Paul Walters got 2 for 50. On the football scene, Ian Douglas Bombers Football Club secured their second win in 3 matches in the DFA's Under-17 League with a whopping 18-0 pounding of Collio Football Club on Monday. Here is DFA's PRO Gerald George with the details.
Richmond Pierre-Louis and Daniel Sodri both recorded beaver tricks, with Corbin Paul and Lerman Irish scoring hat-tricks. Kyle Langley and Lerma Irish got 2 each as Bombers demonstrated total dominance. Meanwhile, the match between Exodus Football Club and New Wave Point Michelle was called off.
The league continues on Wednesday, where East Central will be in search of their 3rd consecutive win when they take on Collio Football Club at Castlebruce Playing Field. At Stock Farm, Harlem United will come up against New Wave Point Michelle. All games begin at 3 p.m. In related sports, Quirkside, Club Loubier and Burt Motors Young Stars dominated the most recent games in the 2017 Fast Cash Harlem League. Quirkside got the better of Newtown Juvenile Football Academy and kept their chances of qualifying alive with 4 points of their 3 games played when they defeated the Academy 2-0. Goal scorers for Quirkside were Myron Joseph and Fast Cash player of the game Odell Francis. Club Loubier made it 2 wins in 3 games when they defeated Rosalie Bay Resort Charlotte Villas 6-4. Shane Cochran got a hat-trick. Darren and Kyle Delsol and Brandel Richards completed the scoring for the winning team. For Charlotte Villas, Christoph Harris, Devon Regis, Prince Austri and McDonough Delsey got 1 each. And Burt Motors Young Stars won by default for their 3rd game in a row when Daddy Chess Bath Road Ambassadors failed to show up for the game. Basketball action resumes with 2 games in the 2017 Flow DABA League on Wednesday. At 7, Digital Clouds will do battle with Ronald Charles Chambers All-Stars in a Division 1 encounter. At 9, Detroit Blazers will come up against Thunderers at 9 p.m. in the Premier League. Previously, Crossover finished 30-29 against PSC Falcons in a game that was stopped at halftime due to bad weather and is expected to be finished at a later date. And the Digital Clouds won by default over 767 Sports and Intellico Security Service Raiders by default over Police Sports Club. Finally, taking a look at recent games in the Tarish Pitt Small Goal Football League, we can tell you that Ghetto Youths defeated Stock Farm United 2-1. Scoring for Stock Farm was Kevin Peters, and for Ghetto Youths, Fabio Roberts and Dylan Alexander. Cherry Ballers defeated the Legends by 1-0 with Aston Robbins scoring the lone goal. 30th Green Street defeated Floyard Boys 4-1. Scoring for Green, we had Kenroy Dover, Jovan Murray, Curtly Augustine, and an own goal. Edmund Derrick scored for Floyard Boys. Finally, T-Unit defeated Power Boys by 1-0. Scoring for T-Unit was Nilon Hector. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Be sure to join us next time.
Stay tuned for the weather forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to the weather report and forecast. I am Viola Pascal. Infrared satellite imagery showed pockets of convective clouds general across the island chain during today, and that is associated with an approaching tropical wave. The visible imagery indicated that Dominica experienced generally cloudy conditions throughout today. The radar imagery indicated scattered showers generally across the island chain throughout today. For tonight, expect general cloudy, hazy, and breezy conditions with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. Similar conditions can be expected tomorrow as the tropical wave moves westward across the island chain. For the marine forecast, seas are expected to be moderate, with waves peaking near 8 feet. A small craft advisory is now in effect for above normal seas and brisk winds. Over the next 3 days, expect general cloudy conditions with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. Persons in areas prone to flooding, landslides, and falling rocks are advised to exercise caution. Across the Caribbean, expect general cloudy conditions with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. For the international cities forecast, expect partly cloudy skies in New York, some thunder showers in Miami, Caracas, and Beijing, and some scattered showers in London. The sun will rise at 5:48 a.m. and set at 6:35 p.m. For further information, call the weather hotline at 447-5555 or visit the website at weather.gov.dm. Thanks for viewing. Do have a good evening.
To end the news, the headlines again. Calls for a renewed focus on the draft legislation for small business development. Light at the end of the tunnel for BICO policyholders, and landmark ruling for the Eastern Caribbean Copyright Organization against a cinema company in St. Lucia. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Idona John Baptist, and to all our viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.